Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TC Lifestyle Fit Podcast. I'm your host, Tim TC Collins. We have a special guest with us today, Miss Linda Ann Necker. She's from Bellevue University. She is a professional in the field of public speaking. And can you tell us today more about your role at Bellevue University?
Sure. Uh, this is an encouragement to those of you who maybe didn't go to school when you thought you should, but I got my bachelor's degree at Bellevue University at age 42.
Wow.
I was 42 years old. Yes, I was.
Never too late, never too
late.
early,
exactly.
Right?
We were just talking about that. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Yes. I had started college a long time before, but didn't finish until age 42. And Bellevue was a great opportunity for me to finish my schooling. And then at the end of the year, there was a course at Bellevue called the Kirkpatrick Signature Series that I absolutely loved. And I said, what do I need to do to teach this course? And the late, great Dr. Ed Rahat said, jump. And I said, how high? So next thing you know, I was enrolled in the master's program to get my degree in communication arts. And at that point, I started working for the university as an admissions counselor. And from there, I just developed a passion for that particular class. And then later at Bellevue, I've taught managing diversity in the workforce as another class. And public speaking, I started teaching that because I had been involved with Toastmasters.
Oh, yes, Toastmasters. I was involved heavily with Toastmasters for years prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was one of the most remarkable experiences for me in terms of my personal development. I learned how to communicate more efficiently, and going into that program initially, I was intimidated because they say the number one fear for most people is speaking in public. Can you tell our viewers about some different skills or tools maybe they can utilize right now to overcome any discomforts they might have towards speaking in small groups or even large groups?
I would be so happy to do that, Tim. That is my passion right there. It's funny, to your point about people being afraid. I have two things to say about that. Number one, I believe it was Jerry Seinfeld that said people would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Why is that?
Because people would rather be dead than speak. That's just speak in public, actually. And also, if you are afraid of speaking in public, you're not alone. Johnny Depp, as of not sure exactly what year it was, but he did an interview like this with David Letterman. And at that point,
on the Letterman show.
Yes. And at that point, he had never seen any of his own movies. Not one movie of his own.
Wow.
And it's funny, you can
Johnny Depp, the great Johnny Depp, who has made some of the most remarkable movies. Tim Burton as a producer over his films. He never looked at it, even Edward Scissorhands.
At that point, he had not. I'm not sure exactly what year. Since then, he has seen a little, but it was... What was really interesting was the reason why. David Letterman in this, you definitely have to Google that. Johnny Depp doesn't watch his own movies. David Letterman, just YouTube that.
Wow.
And you will see this interview, and it's so funny because you can tell David Letterman is kind of pushing him. He's going, seriously? You don't watch your own? And he's like pushing him, and Johnny Depp's kind of getting uncomfortable, like... Yeah, let's go on. Let's go to a different topic. But he said, well, basically, he said, tell me why. And Johnny Depp said something like, well, I enjoy acting, I enjoy the process, but when I have to watch the movie, he's up there, you know what I mean? Like he has to see himself on the screen. And I'm sure that is intimidating. And I just want to encourage you, yes, first of all, to get over your fear of public speaking, just know that you're not alone. I think that's the most important thing, because everybody feels like, oh, I'm the most scared. I'm the most intimidated by that. We all are. And I'm not going to lie, I'm even a little bit nervous right now, just saying.
I can't even tell. She's such an incredible orator.
My first podcast.
Yeah.
But it's just very important. And maybe if I seem at all natural or anything, it's because of my passion. When it's something that you care about, you don't have to worry about form. One of the exercises that I like to do in my class for Bellevue for the public speaking is I tell my students, pick something that you're extremely interested in and passionate about.
Interested and have passion for.
And talk to each other about it. Okay. And then afterwards, I ask them, did I have to tell you to do eye contact? Did I have to tell you to get proper verbal delivery? Did I have to tell you? No, I didn't have to tell you any of that because you're passionate about it. All of that just came naturally because it was something you were interested in.
Right. Wow. One concept I learned early on while I was a student at Toastmasters International was that 7% of your communication is what you say. 38% of communication is your tonality, how you say it, and 55% is your body language, which is the biggest. It's not even exactly what you say. You could have an amazing gift, product, service, message. However, if it is not delivered authentically, it will get distorted by the people you are delivering that particular message or the information to. Can you talk to us about how do we navigate through those challenges? What are your thoughts on that particular perspective?
Well, you said it all right there. You said it all, Tim.
I need to work on my body language.
No, it was great because, and I think again, it goes back to how much passion do you have for it?
Passion.
Because
start with passion.
Language, yes, your body language is going to follow your passion. But also, actually...
What if you don't have passion for something, but you still need to articulate a message? Maybe it's a book report. You may not necessarily in college have a ton of enthusiasm towards the book report you're writing, but you still need to get up and recite the information to your classmates, to your instructor, enthusiastically.
That's a really good question. And I think to answer that, I'm going back to, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Vin Chong or something. If you're interested,
Vince Vaughn?
I will. It's someone I've been following, like on TikTok or Facebook, whatever. He's a speaking coach. And one of the things that he said, I just like to cite my sources. I like to cite my sources. I don't want to.
The professional.
I don't want to make it sound like what I'm about to tell you was my idea. But and I can get you that information because this guy is wonderful to follow. One of the things he said was he said, say greater things are going to happen. Try this. Say greater things are going to happen.
Greater things are going to happen.
Okay, now do it this way. Greater things are going to happen.
Greater things are going to happen. See? Oh, that felt better.
Right?
Because I opened up my world.
Exactly.
I made myself bigger.
So, bigger. In fact, I think he even said bigger. So when you intentionally move your arms out and have that body language,
physiology,
then your voice will follow that too. So if it is something that you're not interested in that much, focus on making your gestures big, even though your heart may not be in it. It's going to come out bigger. It's going to your vocal variety is going to be more interesting when you're moving your arms and maybe even walking around. But don't walk around too much because I was told by a very good source that sometimes when I was walking back and forth, because I thought, when you speak, you should walk back and forth. And this buddy of mine said, you're making your students nervous. You're walking around like a tiger in a cage. So extroverts like me can sometimes,
strong like the tiger.
But sometimes extroverts like me can even over emphasize.
There's a balance.
There's a balance, exactly. And I happen to be from an Irish Italian New York family, so I have a lot of that's where
my
I'm
wife
from
is
originally.
from New York.
Is she?
Oh, she grew up in Harlem.
That's awesome.
Yeah, long story short, she had an experience as a teenager that she ended up in the court system. However, the judge showed my wife some favor, and she ended up at Boys Town in Omaha, Nebraska.
What?
It changed her life. We met in college.
Initially,
met an awesome
we were
friends. I met an awesome woman. We were friends initially. Then I took my shot. Senior year, and we got married.
Oh, congratulations!
So, it was a blessing. Yeah,
that's
she's amazing.
Great.
So New York, can you tell us about some of your time in New York?
Well,
were you public speaking when you were there?
No.
Oh no!
I'm originally from Staten Island, so
Staten Island. Okay.
I used to have a New York accent.
But see, my wife, she's working on altering her tonality because she still has that hard, Jersey, New York accent, which is beautiful to me. I love that accent.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, and I can often talk like that very easily because I grew up there.
Yeah,
but I actually grew up in Clifton
very
Park.
Convincing too.
Yeah, very very easily I can fall back into it. But I did grow up in Clifton Park, New York. So when I was 7, I moved upstate, and they don't have an accent up there. So that's why I don't talk with a New York accent anymore. But my mother did, and it was funny when my mom was alive and she was living with me. One time I took her to the store, and the lady behind the counter said, "Oh, is your mother from New York?" And I said, "Well, yeah. How did you know?" Because I didn't hear the accent. I mean, it was it's so normal to me, So yes, no, I moved to Nebraska with my now ex-husband back in '82, and met my best friend here. And very long story short, also met my now husband here. And
Amen.
Yes, we're very happily married now. And I moved back here to be near her with my daughters. So it's been a long journey. Yes.
How has your ability to communicate effectively impacted your marriage?
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
A big deal.
No,
not what we say, but how we say it.
That is a really good question, Tim. And I think that for the benefit of anyone listening, I was just talking to my best friend this morning about communication in marriage. Funny you should say that. I was just telling her how
most important concept to catch really is. Early on when you get married initially.
Yep.
When the sunshine in the flowery stage of your marriage, when that starts to dwindle away, then it's work on both parties. And it's good work, because that's life. When we continue to work and grow, everyone gets better. Communication is the foundation of your relationship.
It really is.
Can you talk to everyone?
Oh, I would
some of your perspectives
Absolutely
on why
yes.
communication is important in a relationship, maybe not even just with marriage, but with people who are close to you on a business level or just a level in general, working with people.
Yes, Tim. I don't know. You are hitting all my favorite topics. You are a very good interviewer.
Oh, you are the best.
Seriously,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's true. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. George Bernard Shaw said, "The most dangerous thing about communication is the illusion that it happened."
George Bernard Shaw.
Yes. And I don't know a whole lot about George Bernard Shaw, but I know he said a very good thing.
Yes.
The most dangerous thing about communication is the illusion that it actually took place. And when we are in any relationship, whether it be a marriage or mother-daughter. I have 3 daughters, and that's been a big thing that I've had to learn, is to communicate, especially with people who have different temperaments than you do.
Yes.
Because the different temperaments communicate differently. My husband and I are opposites.
Different personalities.
Yes, exactly. We are opposites.
Tendencies.
Opposites attract very much, and I think that the best way to learn to communicate with a spouse or a kid or a friend or a teacher or anybody is to learn about the different temperament types, personality types, temperament types, and how they communicate. Be a student of your spouse. Be a student of their temperament.
Mannerisms
exactly.
too. Yeah.
Yes. And ask a lot of questions. Don't assume things. Don't assume that you know what they mean. Don't assume you know what they're thinking. Do your best to ask questions. And I think that could really save a lot of marriages and relationships in general, because you look back on some of the things, maybe relationships that have broken up or whatever, and sometimes you think, man, if only I had known this, or if I had understood that, you know, and that's all part of growing. There's nothing, no worries there. Okay, there's no regrets, but it's just like you take those lessons into your new world and say, hey, how can I make this work by learning about my spouse and communicating, like with say introverted kids. My kids are maybe listening to this, and I mean, that was one of the big things where my daughter would have a job where she had to talk on the phone a lot, and she would come home from work, and she's an introvert, so she's spent all of her energy that she has talking on the phone. And she walks in the door, and I'm like, hi, honey, how are you? How was your day? Who did you talk to? What did you know? And she's just like,
oh, I get it. I have a teenage daughter at home. She's 13 now, getting ready to be 14 in a few months, and I'm learning how to be more efficient with how I present myself to a teenage girl. My number one instinct as a dad is to teach in every moment. However, I can't always do that.
No.
But I'm learning. Lord knows I'm learning no matter what, whether I'm communicating to my wife, my son, daughter, you, other people. It's important to be genuine. It's important to respect other people's model of the world and not communicate out of emotion. Because what you say, there's life, there's death in your words. And if you have been given a mouth, the gift of speech, it's important to be wise with how you communicate or deliver a message to a person. Can you elaborate on that concept, your point of view?
Well, again, you've said it all. And I do have to encourage you, Tim, that with a 13-year-old daughter, you've already hit it out of the ballpark because you're trying. Because you're trying. She knows you love her. That, you know, and as wow. I've heard before, love covers a multitude of sins. It's just like knowing that she's loved and knowing that you're trying to communicate to her.
Love people.
It's all gonna work out. Even if you mess up like I have, even if you, because I did not know how to communicate with my introverted kids, and today we have an awesome relationship. All of us do. And it just comes down to love. When they know that your heart's in the right place, a lot can be forgiven in that way, you know, and just not getting it right. I mean, think about this too.
Yes.
You have a child who is trying to walk, and they're going to keep falling, and they're going to keep falling. And it's not like you go, oh, that kid's never going to walk. That, you know. No, that's part of it. And so part of communication and learning is falling and getting up and saying, oh, I'm really sorry. That was a really bad communication that I did. And please help me to understand what your needs are. Help me to understand how to connect with you better. So yeah, I think that would, if I were to add anything to what you said, that would be it.
Yeah, one of my mentors, who is also a client, he says success is built on a mountain of mistakes. So we have to embrace our challenges and learn from every experience, because there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. What are you learning from every situation? Pick yourself up and keep going. Yes. Can you talk to us, Ms. Linda, about how you've been able to use communication to overcome obstacles in your life?
Good one. My favorite song is Johnny Nash. I can see clearly now.
I saw that
On my
on your Facebook page. Yeah, I can see clearly
all
now.
Obstacles in my way.
That is such a beautiful song. I never knew the individual who actually wrote this song.
Nash.
His name is Johnny Nash.
Well, actually, I'm wondering if Bob Marley actually wrote that for him. They
Bob
were
Marley?
friends.
Oh,
they were
cool.
friends.
It's a beautiful song. I've heard it maybe a million times, unaware of who the actual writer or singer of the song, of that particular song is.
The lyrics to that song.
Yeah.
What
does that mean?
Yeah, it's funny because
you gave a speech on that, didn't you?
I did.
Right?
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
When I was 10 years old, that song was popular. Yes, do the math. I'll be 60 this year. So I was
years young.
Right, 60 years young. But I remember having the album. My mother actually had the album, and I listened to music over and over and over again. I played the record. That was the record. Those are those big frisbee-looking things, you guys. Yeah. And I remember thinking as a child, I can see all obstacles in my way. I always loved lyrics to music, and that one always threw me. As a kid, I didn't understand why that would be a good thing to see obstacles, right? And but as I got older, I saw that if I can see an obstacle, I can walk around it.
You can walk around the obstacle.
Yeah, like some of the listeners might be old enough to remember the Dick Van Dyke Show, where he would walk in every week. Every time he walked in, he would fall over his ottoman. That was kind of the show, the beginning of the show.
Really?
That was like
he
a joke.
Purposely did that,
and then after a while, he'd like walk around it. And that's a great
get
picture
up and just
move
around it.
Exactly. If you can see the obstacles in your way, then you can walk around them. And if so, to tie that into your question about communication and how I've learned. If you can see that communication is the obstacle, you can walk around it. You can learn things. It's a learnable art, everyone. Communication is a learnable art. Don't just say, this is what I would encourage you not to do. I'm just that way, and they're just going to have to understand me. Or I just don't get them. I will never get them. Yes, I will never understand you. I will never understand that. Those are danger words. Those are danger words.
Growth versus fixed.
Yes.
A growth mindset versus a fixed mindset.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So that's really the only obstacle to communication is thinking that there's a big obstacle to communication because it is learnable. I mean, if we can communicate with animals, I mean, I know there are people who can, talk to the animals, right? And they can understand what they're thinking or saying, or what does your cat really mean when he does this? And, I mean, think about it. We should be able to communicate with humans. If we can communicate with animals, we can communicate with humans if we try hard enough and if we have the tools. And the internet is so full of tools.
Tools,
there's no
absolutely.
There's no excuse, people. There's no excuse.
No excuses. We need to stop making excuses for ourselves.
Right.
We have potential. God has given us all gifts and abilities. Speaking to myself.
Yes.
We all have, I don't know what you would call it, but I learned this principle or concept from a psychiatrist, Paul Stutz. He talks about the part X, which is that side of you. It's the self-sabotaging side of you. Whenever you experience something new or challenge, or you step out on faith to better yourself, you hear a voice in your head says, "Oh, don't do that. You're not good enough. You're not great enough. You're okay with being average and mediocre." And sometimes we listen to that voice. How do we overcome that voice? How do we overcome that? And first of all, it doesn't go away. It's always going to be there. So that means we need to learn how to overcome it. And it's a daily practice of being intentional with our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
What are your
What are my
perspectives
thoughts on
on
those
that?
thoughts?
Yeah. Thoughts on the thoughts. Yeah.
My thoughts on those thoughts are: as soon as you find the answer, let me know.
Right.
I can't wait to find it.
Right.
Because I deal with
What are
those
you feeding
as well.
yourself?
I deal with those too.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I have overcome a lot of obstacles in my life. I think one of
Look at where you're at
yeah,
today.
I mean,
This
and
brilliant woman
oh
who
my gosh.
educates people from different backgrounds at one of the greatest universities, I would say, in the world, not just in Nebraska. Bellevue University is an incredible institution, and they are blessed to have your wisdom and knowledge that you willingly share with the students.
Thank you.
You're making an impact on this universe, and I'm grateful for this conversation that we're having today. I learned a lot.
Well,
I learned a lot from you. I'm sure our viewers are also learning.
Thank you. And I would agree with you on the Bellevue University being one of the best in the world, because we do reach, especially like military people around the world.
Right.
Pretty much anybody. And we also have a lot of international students who come to Bellevue University. Because it is, I guess, I've heard like it's a reasonably priced private institution, so not for profit. But
I see.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. The question was again. Oh, we were talking about the idea of overcoming those negative thoughts.
The
like
part
that.
X.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I appreciate that you cited your source there.
Yes, I had to. Yeah, I'm
speaking
to a professor,
yep.
Paul Stutz. Yeah, if you look him up, he actually has a show on Netflix. It's remarkable. You can look that up, and it'll bless your life.
I will.
Has a book called Tools as well.
Yeah.
If you're having any challenges mentally with overcoming any obstacle, whether it's a physical obstacle or a mental obstacle, he has different success principles that'll help you.
We all do have that. I mean, I look at the way my life has gone. I was unexpectedly divorced, and I had to go on welfare for 3.5 years.
Wow.
And that was the toughest time in my life. I felt like I was worthless. I felt like I was not in a good place.
Wow, look at you today.
And God has really
done
a lot.
It's how you finish, not how you start.
God has done a lot in my life with my
is.
people around me. That has been, He has used people around me to lift me up and to remind me who I am. There's this a really nice song I like. It's by Laura C. It's called "Don't You Know Who You Are," and it's just kind of a nice little meditative song. But yeah, I think it's really important that we intentionally be around people who lift us up. Intentionally, even if you don't feel like doing it. And I think that's when you feel really yucky about yourself. It's almost like a sugar addiction, where even though it's not good for you, you want more. So even sometimes we attract people who kind of tell us who we are in a negative way. We can end up attracting those people. But when we say, you know what, I'm going to intentionally start feeling good about myself. Hang around people who lift
focus
me
on
up.
your blessings.
Yes, and hang around people who encourage me. My cheerleaders, I have so many cheerleaders in my life who have lifted me up and believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Those are the people. Believe those people when they believe in you. Because I think the tendency is to look at somebody who believes in you and go, but if you really only knew me, no.
Wow, that's amazing.
No, just believe in the people who believe in you. Even if you have to go on their faith for now. Even if you don't, your subconscious keeps telling you, no, they just don't know you that well. Just trust. Just trust that they know you better than you know yourself. Because honestly, if it weren't for those people, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Wow.
Yep.
Amen.
And
Amen.
a shout out to Joan Allen who introduced us.
Yes.
Yes, I was
Mama
watching
Joan.
her. Yep, I
She
know,
is amazing.
with Destiny Cafe, and I was
Destiny
watching
Cafe,
her, and she's one of those
nonprofit.
people, you know, who has and I met her through Sandy Spady, with Women with Voices, and I just those are the people that lift us up in the world, and Joan really encouraged me, and she encouraged me to do this today, which I was like, okay, I'll do this.
I appreciate Mama Joan for connecting us. It's just such a beautiful day.
Yes, it is.
I have one last question before we conclude our podcast for today. What is your message to the world? I believe everybody has a voice that God has given them to share with others. What is yours? What is the number one perspective you want our viewers to leave with today? The most important perspective that you hold dearly to your heart, you want to leave our viewers with? You're enough. Amen. Yes. I've had challenges with that. This is the truth. God created me, God created you, so that means we are all valuable. Just because someone doesn't necessarily value you yet doesn't mean you aren't valuable. Everyone is valuable. That's the good Lord, because He created us. So we're going to be grateful for every day. We're going to continue to walk in confidence and help each other. Absolutely. You put a bomb. This podcast, it blessed me so much. And thank you. Likewise. Let's thank Miss Linda for gracing us with her presence. And remember, your thoughts are like a garden. So your mind is a garden. Those thoughts are seeds. So you can plant flowers or you could plant weeds. I can't remember who the actual. Oh, I don't know. The gentleman who quote William Wordsworth. That's what's good about Google. William Wordsworth. That's what's good about Google. I had to recite my sources since I'm in the presence of a professor. Yeah, William Wordsworth. There you go. Yes. So awesome. We'll leave with that today. It was an amazing podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you. We'll see you all soon. Make sure you like this video, share this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will see you all next time. Bye-bye. Have a great day.